Hello everybody, welcome to Chapter 3, Part 1. We're going to talk about frequency distributions and talking about how to visualize data. Now the first thing we're going to start with though is we're going to start with a review question. So here's the review question. I think that eating cheese causes you to become obese. Weight in pounds is... Weight in pounds is ratio data. The reason why it's ratio data is because 0 means 0, and the difference between 1 pound and 2 pounds is the same as 99 pounds and 100 pounds, right? Those intervals are all the same, and more means more. So we know that there's at least an ordinal version, right? Because a higher number means more weight. We know that the intervals are the same because each pound is exactly 1 pound. And we know that 0 means no pounds. Therefore, we have ratio data. All right, we need to talk about what we're discussing today has to do with visualizing data. Now today, we're specifically going to talk about what the word frequency means, and then we're also going to talk about bar charts and histograms. In the next video, we'll talk about scatter plots and stem and leaf plots. But first, we need to talk about the word frequency. Frequency means how often something shows up in a sample. How often something occurs. It is not time. We're not talking about like how frequently, meaning, every 3 seconds. That's not necessarily what we're discussing. We're talking about how many times it shows up in a sample, right? Specifically, it normally means the number of people who have that specific amount of the variable, right? The number of people with that score. That's normally what we mean by frequency. Now, to demonstrate this, we are going to discuss ninjas. All right, here are my ninjas. We are going to talk about ninjas today. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you some ninjas, and we're going to talk about the frequency, and then we're going to map out and get some data about some ninjas. I have 9 ninjas, and so we're going to talk about that. So let's go ahead and look at the ninjas. All right, everybody. Here are my 9 ninjas. You see them right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, if you remember from Chapter 2, when we say the number of people, we call that the N. We call that the N. So the N of this sample, I'm assuming these are not all the ninjas in the world, the N of this sample is 9. There are 9 of them. The N is 9. When we talk about frequency, though, we're talking about how many times a specific instance occurs. So, for example, you'll notice that these ninjas are different colors, right? So what we do is when we talk about frequency, we say, what is the frequency of yellow? So, yellow, there are 1, 2 yellow ninjas. The frequency of yellow is 2. What is the frequency of red? Well, there are 1, 2. I know that looks kind of orange. They're orangey red. All right, fine. The frequency of orangey red is 1, 2. There are 2 red ninjas. All right. What is the frequency of green? The frequency of green is, there are 1, 2, 3 green ninjas. Therefore, the frequency of green is 3. Okay. Now, besides just colors or categorical kinds of data, we can also talk about this in terms of other things. So, what is the frequency of ninjas with 2 different weapons? So, what is the frequency of 2? Meaning 2 weapons. When we talk about weapons, what is the frequency of 2? Well, this guy has 2 weapons. 2 weapons, 2 weapons, 2 weapons, 2 weapons, 2 weapons, 2 weapons, 2 weapons. The frequency of 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The frequency of 2 is 8, meaning the frequency of ninjas with 2 weapons is 8. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to write some things down. So here's my participant. Okay, let's go ahead and we are going to do some, we're going to write down some data like we normally would. So there's several variables that we care about. This one is going to be color. Okay, the ninja's color. We're going to do the number of weapons. Okay, we're going to give him an awesomeness score. And their age. All right, so we have color, number of weapons, awesomeness, and age. Of those 4 variables, we're going to get one for each one. So this is how we normally do our data when we are doing data in statistics. We have the participants be the row, and the variables are the columns. So for example, color is the variable, and so the variable color will be its own column. Participant number 1, this guy right here, he's blue. But instead of saying blue, we are going to give blue a number. Let's make blue number 1. All right? The color blue is a 1. How many weapons does he have? 2. How awesome is he? I'm going to give him, out of 10, I'm going to give him a 4. And his age, you didn't know this, but he is actually 53 years old. All right. This guy right here, his color is red-orange, but instead of writing red-orange, I'm going to give it a number instead. So red-orange is going to be the number 2. That means that this guy right here, his color is also a 2, right? Because they're the same color. Number of weapons, he's got 2 weapons. How awesome is he? He's awesome out of 7. And he is 56 years old. All right, we're going to do the same thing for different ones. So green is going to be 3. So this guy's a 3, this guy's a 3, and this one's a 3 right there. Okay, this guy, how many weapons does he have? 1, 2 weapons. He is 6 in awesomeness, and he is 23 years old. This one, 2, awesomeness, 4, and he is 26. This one is yellow. Yellow is going to be a 4, so this guy's a 4 and this guy's a 4 right there. Number of weapons, he's only got 1 weapon. How awesome is he? He is awesome at a 5, and he is, let's see, let's make him 7 years old. 2, number of weapons is 2. Awesomeness is, you'd think he'd be a 7 because the other one is, but he's not quite as awesome. He is a 5, and he is, let's make him 31 years old. This one is got 2 weapons. He's pretty awesome. That guy's a 9, and he is going to be exactly 40 years old. This one right here, he has 2 weapons. His awesomeness is 6. And he is exactly 17 years old. This guy, what color is he? Well, he's got to be a different color. He's purple, I know, but let's give that a 5, right? He's got 2 weapons. He's a 10 in awesomeness. That's a 10. And he is exactly, let's make him 17 years old as well. Okay? All right, this is how we would normally do our data. We put the person in a row, all right? So this is this particular ninja's scores. His color is a 1, number of weapons is a 2, awesomeness is a 4, age is 53, right? And then each variable is a separate column. There are other ways of looking at the data, however. And one thing that you should know is that instead of actually using the person, we just give each participant a different number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay? All right. So here's what we're going to do next. We're going to take these same data, but now we're going to plot them a different way. We're going to get rid of the ninjas, and here's all the data for the ninjas. That's exactly what it looks like, right? This is the ninjas' data. That's exactly what we want it to be, to say. All 9 ninjas and all of their data with the appropriate labels. All right? But instead of looking at it like this, maybe we only want to know a summary of color, for example. And let's say the ninjas aren't even on the table. They're gone. They're over here. We're going to put them, we'll put them back in just a second. Let's make a different chart, right? I'm going to move these over. And in this time, what we're going to do is I'm going to put this sideways. All right, we'll put it sideways. Okay? And we are going to make a chart. We are going to map out the data that we have. Now let's start with color. So this is going to be a chart of the different color, meaning the color of the ninjas. All right? So remember what we said in terms of the word frequency. What does frequency mean? Frequency means how many times something occurs. And we talked about the frequency of color. What we're going to create is a chart that shows us just one variable. And that one variable, in this case, is a categorical variable, which is called color. Now we have a y-axis and an x-axis. Okay? When we do this, and we're only doing one variable, the y-axis, this one right here, is going to be frequency. Now I'm going to turn it sideways so I can write. Frequency, meaning how many times it occurs in the sample. All right? How many times it occurs in the sample. So let's kind of just take a look at this. Let's look at our different ninjas. I'll go ahead and bring them back on. Here they are. Okay? There's our ninjas. But now we want to measure them in a different way. We want to put them together. Okay, so if you remember, let's go ahead and do the green guys. We'll show you how we're going to put these guys. There's a green guys, and there's the yellow ones, and here's a purple one, and there is an orange ones, and there is a blue one. Okay? Let's look right here. What is the frequency of green? It is 1, 2, 3. The frequency of green is 3. So this is going to be green. Here is yellow. And there are 2 of them. Purple. 1 of them. This is red. I know it looks orangey red, but it's red. And this one over here is blue. Okay? Notice how that's the same data as what we had charted over here, at least just for color. So that's all right there. This is the frequency of each of these ninjas. All right? But what if the ninjas aren't there? What do? Well, it's pretty simple. What we do is we make a little bar over them. Whoa, these yellow guys are moving. And then we get rid of the ninjas. What have we made? We just made a bar chart or a bar graph. A bar chart or a bar graph. When we want to visualize data, we use a bar graph when we want to know the frequency of categorical data. The frequency of categorical data. We only use a bar graph when we are looking at the frequency of categorical data. Now in this class, we will only ever use a bar graph or a bar chart when we are measuring, we're giving the frequency of one categorical variable. So for example, this one, the one categorical variable is color. Okay? We're only going to use a bar chart when we're doing one. In reality, you sometimes can show 2 or more variables, but we are going to show the frequency of one categorical variable. We will use a bar chart. Notice how the x-axis is the different categories. Green is not a separate variable. It is a level of color. Green is not a separate variable. It is a level of the same variable called color. These are different colors, right? They're different categories. There are different levels of one variable called color. Now, in this case, we could, if we wanted to, have used our numbering system instead of the labels. So if you remember right, we actually had green, we gave that the number 3. And yellow, we gave, I don't quite remember what we gave, I think it was 4, yeah, it was 4. 4. Purple was 5, red was 2, and blue, sorry, was 1. Those were the different numbers that we'd given them. And you're like, wait a minute, should we put these in order? Because it's categorical, it doesn't matter. If this is categorical, then it doesn't matter whether we're labeling it with green or 3, and it doesn't matter the order. We could put these in order in different ways, it doesn't matter. That is why these bars don't touch each other, by the way, is because if I wanted to put the green bar over here and the blue bar over here, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. They're independent. And what we're doing is we're saying, hey, in this sample, how many green guys were there? There were, oh look, right here, the bar goes up to 3. There was 3 of them, okay? There was 3. The frequency of green was 3. All right, we only use a bar chart or a bar graph when we are doing categorical data. If we want to do other kinds of data, specifically continuous data, then we have to do a different chart. So let's do awesomeness. So if you remember, we measured everybody's awesomeness. Now a higher number means more awesomeness. So ninja number 9 was more awesome than ninja number 7, right? So we know that this is at least ordinal data, and so we're going to treat this as continuous data. So this is going to be a visualization of awesomeness. Okay? Just like with the bar chart, we are going to make an x-axis and a y-axis. This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. And guess what? Just like with the bar chart, we are going to have this be called frequency. All right? That means how many times does the score actually occur. However, this x-axis is going to be awesomeness. Right? And so, we need to keep this in order. We need to keep it in order now because the numbers actually mean something, right? The number 10 means more awesomeness than the number 9. So, we're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Let's look over here. Now when we look over here, we can see the different scores of awesomeness that we have for these different ninjas. All right? If we want to, we can go ahead and put them in their correct place. I'm sure I won't put the right guys in the right place. But remember, this guy had an awesomeness of 4, so we'll put him right there. And the next one, he was, pretty sure it's this one right here. He had an awesomeness of 7. And this one, number 3 was a green one. Okay. He has an awesomeness of 6. All right. And number 4, he has an awesomeness of 4. He's also green. Okay. So we're going to put that right there. And number 5 has an awesomeness of 5. He is, what color is he? He is yellow, and only has 1 weapon, so this guy. So his awesomeness is 5. There he is, right there. 6, awesomeness of 5. That is a green one, so he goes right on top. And then we got 7, awesomeness of 9. He is a yellow one. 8 has an awesomeness of 6. Right there. Oh, I think I got those backwards. Anyway, it doesn't much matter. And this guy has an awesomeness of 10. Okay? So what is the frequency? What is the frequency of 4? It's just asking how many ninjas have an awesomeness level of 4. The frequency of 4 is 1, 2, 2 of them. The frequency of 4 is 2. So just like we did last time, let's go ahead and put some numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And so what we're going to do is, just like with that bar chart, we are going to actually make bars. Now, but this time, we're going to do it a little bit differently, right? We're going to do it a little differently because the bars need to touch each other. Why do the bars need to touch each other? Because these data are continuous data. So that means that I need a bar to represent 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 7, 9, and 10. Okay, so I'm going to put these over. 4 had a frequency of 2. 5 had a frequency of 2. 6 had a frequency of 2. 7 had a frequency of 1, right? So he goes only up here to 1. 8 has a frequency of 0. 8 doesn't even appear on here. 9 has a frequency of 1. And 10 has a frequency of 1. This is a histogram. This is an awesomeness histogram. Histogram. This is used when you are looking for the frequency of continuous data. The frequency of continuous data. Awesomeness is continuous. Therefore, the numbers need to be in order. And the reason why the bars touch each other is because there is, 4 is right after, or 5 is right after 4, right? So these are next to each other. In real life, if you have a lot of numbers, you can create what's called bins, right? So anything, 1 through 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 30, you can have bins of those if you wanted to. For us, though, we would keep it just like this. So this is an awesomeness histogram. You love histograms. Histograms are the best. The reason why you love histograms is because we are going to use this to understand something different later on. And so with my pencil, I'm going to show you what's going to happen. We are going to have we're going to make a curve out of histograms. We're going to make a curve out of the histograms. So we'll get to that in future dates, but this concept is really important. We are looking at the frequency of how many times this happens. How many ninjas had an awesomeness of 4? What is the frequency of 4? It is 2. The frequency of 4 is 2. How many ninjas had an awesomeness of 7? What is the frequency of 7? The frequency of 7 is 1. The frequency of 7 is 1. And when you put these together, you create a histogram. That's for continuous data. If you're only looking at one continuous variable, just one, awesomeness is the continuous variable, then you are looking at making a histogram out of it. Okay, let's do one review question and then we will stop for this video. Whoop. We'll do this one later on. Bar charts are used for what kind of data? They're used for nominal data. Nominal data is the data that gives us categorical variables. So the answer is nominal data.